Hello, everyone. Once again, your host, Marius Glabrius at Latin Language Revival. Thank you for visiting my channel once again. Salve is the greeting in Roman, ancient Roman pronunciation. Salve omnes. Omnes means everyone, like omnibus. Um, I got today's presentation that I'm about to upload shortly, and it is on the story behind La siesta in Spanish, which is the afternoon nap, right? For noon. Well, it's got its history, and it's rooted all in ancient Roman times. So I will explain it in the next few slides very briefly for everyone who's interested. And again, thank you for watching. There will be a lot more presentations coming up with uh, recitations in Latin, classical Latin for many authors, from many authors' writings. So stay tuned for more of those videos. And also check out my Instagram account. That would be Latin Language Revival, at Latin Language Revival on Instagram. So there's pictures there and short clips, reels, so on and so forth. So, and also, lastly, please subscribe. Trying to get my numbers up just to see what's out there, just to see who's all interested. I appreciate it again and enjoy. Wale. Comment ça va? How's everyone? Salve, omnes in Latin. I started off in French. Buenos dias in Spanish. Okay, so today's presentation is on la siesta. What comes to mind when we say, I am going to take a siesta? A nap, right? Exactly. Like this kitty, like my cat, takes siestas all day long. So in our vocabulary, siesta has come to mean a nap, but it does have its history, and it's very interesting. If you want to stay tuned and listen to this, very interesting origination, and it really, because of this channel being Latin language revival, it does come from ancient Roman times. It is where it's rooted from. And we begin here with the sundial. The sundial was considered one of the first more elaborate time-telling devices from the ancient world. It was definitely used commonly in the BC era, or before Common Era. And it was based on the position of the sun, the latitude. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was there was a certain standard of the latitude that was used, and from there it would be communicated. That's the standard time, the time to be adhered to in the Mediterranean. Either way, it was in use and not super reliable, as you would imagine, especially on rainy, cloudy days when the sun wouldn't come up. But I believe that the sunny regions would report their hour, and that's how they would know the hour at different locations, as they would communicate in a chain form. There may have been other forms in previous to this. I'm not sure. I'm just making the connection between the ancient Roman to today. This evolved into the clepsydra, a water clock operated as the term would indicate, water. And I will present that in the following slide. On this one, we'll go over real quick how the Romans would interpret time. So at sunrise, that's when it was considered hora prima, in our world, 6 a.m. Hora tertia, the third hour, 9 a.m. Hora sexta, the noon hour. Hora nona, the 3 p.m. or ninth hour. Hora prima noctis, the first hour of the night, 6 p.m. Hora quinta noctis, 11 p.m., as it would count from hora prima to 11 o'clock. Hora vigilia prima, or the first watch, the first vigil, that would be midnight. Hora vigilia cuarta would be 4 a.m. and it counts off to the 5 a.m. Hora vigilia quinta, and then again starts all over to sunrise at 6 a.m. Hora prima. Now let's take notice here, and this is hora prima right here again. It resets. Let's take special attention to hora sexta. This is the noon hour. And as you can determine, hora sexta evolved with time into the Spanish vocabulary as siesta. Maybe it had to do with pronunciation as it evolved. Hora siesta. Then it became hora siesta. And then today we interpret it as nap time. And in reality, you could say that because a noon hour was the time when most would be at home, just like they still practice in European countries today, where there is no work going on in the noon hour. So that's the interesting history behind that. Also, we don't realize, but when we use AM and PM in our Western Hemisphere, very commonly we say AM, 9 a.m., 10 p.m., etc. In the Eastern Hemisphere countries, military time is what's more in use. So 4 o'clock p.m. would be 1600, 1600. But in our world, we use AM, PM, and these are rooted also from ancient Roman vocabulary. AM ante meridiem, which means before the noon hour, before half the day. And then post meridiem is after the noon hour. And that's what these mean, AM and PM, in case you did not know that. And I introduce here the water clock, the clepsydra, as it was known. The water clock, as you can see there, is, well, I'm not a mechanical engineer, but I think you can pretty much determine how this works. It would get filled up in that little cylinder where this little dude is standing on, and it would get filled with water. Then it would drip out through that little tube, and each time that the wheel section would fill up with water, it would turn into the next section and it would fill up the same and then turn. And as that would happen, then that little dude right there would lower and lower, pointing at the time elapsed. Now, the clepsydra is mentioned in many ancient writings, including Cicero. The ones I'm more familiar with is with Cicero. And I want to say it was either in his book De Orationes or in Verrem. I'm not sure which of the two, but he does mention that he's in court, that there is a device, a clepsydra, in the back wall, taking time as each attorney or in a court proceeding would time the amount that was allotted to the speaker by using this device. So very interesting information when you read it. I mean, stuff that happened 2,000 plus years ago, it just blows my mind. Also, I read in some National Geographic article, if I'm not mistaken, it was that article or some other, that underwater there was an actual water clock that was discovered out there in the Mediterranean or one of those seas, probably around the area of the Black Sea, maybe. Where a sunken ship was discovered, and then among the items that were in it was an actual water clock that dates back to the 1st century. So, very fascinating. We are now in the Latin recital portion of this presentation, and we see the crucifixion. And since we're in that period of Lent, and with the Easter Sunday holiday coming up in April, this is pretty fitting. And it does, in the Bible, express some of these time terms that I have already described. And we start with John 19:13 of the Synoptic Gospels. Every one of them have their version, of course, and there's a little bit of a discrepancy with time. Again, I believe it's because of the accuracy. I mean, there's really no preciseness back in that time when it came to time telling, especially with the fact that that day didn't seem like a normal day with darkness coming over the land and everything. Sundials definitely did not do the trick. So maybe that explains the discrepancy. I really don't know why. But in Johannes 19:13, I recite here, Pilatus autem cum audicet os sermones adduxit foras le Jesum, et sedit pro tribunali in loco qui dicitur litos trotos Hebraice autem gabata, erat autem parasceque Pascae, ora quasi sexta, et dicit Judaeis, ecce rex vester. In English, what that translates to is when Pilate tried to release him, but the Jews cried out. All right, so that's the verse right before that. Now, Pilate had heard these words. He brought Jesus outside. He sat him down in the seat of judgment in a place where it is called the pavement, but in Hebrew it is called the elevation. Now it was preparation day of the Passover, which in Latin is Pascae, or Pascua in Spanish, about the 6th hour. So we know when it says the 6th hour, this was at noon. And he said to the Jews, Behold your king. Again, dicit Judaeus ora quasi sexta. Around the 6th hour. 6th hour. Ecce rex vester. And something similar is also described in Matthew 27:45. A sexta autem hora tenebrae factae sunt super universam terram usque ad oram nonam. So here it says at the 6th hour there was a land-wide darkness upon the earth. And this was until the 9th hour, from the 6th hour to the 9th hour. So from noon to 3 p.m., we can pretty much say that was the crucifixion time of Christ. The crucifixion is stated to have started at noon, and then he died on the 9th hour, 3 p.m. Thank you for watching again. I hope you continue watching more of the presentations. Subscribe, por favor, per piacere. S'il vous plaît. Wale.